Hello and welcome to Startups in Real Life. We're in week 3 of a 10-week, 2 times a week discussion about all things startup. If you have any insights, support, advice, we'd love to hear it. Drop us a line. We'll love to connect. So let's get started. Today, ideally, Rae Hames would be here. Right now, she is either a little bit late or can't get online. So we're gonna kind of roll with it. One of the things we were hoping to talk about is around remote teams. And when I say remote, it's also distributed teams and how well those work in what environments with what type of people um, thrive most in that type of a company and so on. So if Rae hops on, we will get into that. But until then, one of the things I'd love to talk about is as it relates to teams that Rae was talking about last week of how to rally the troops and execute a common vision. As someone who has um, started a few companies, always as a co-founder, and I love working with teams. My one of my passion points is building teams to that want to work towards accomplishing like things that haven't been done before. And with the last few companies I've been in, we've had between 3 and 7 founders, and I think that that works out really well because then you can have the strengths of each one of you kind of coming together. And what you try to do is never have too much overlap. You want just enough to where there's some kind of understanding and empathy and compassion for each person's role and respect. But you don't want it to where someone is stepping on top of the other person either. So there is definitely quite a balance on that. And then also, the stage of the vision. Like, has this already started to be built out? Is there a large team behind you already? And things like that. So let's start first with the actual company. So, is there a roadmap? Are you still building the roadmap? Those are the types of things that matter when it comes to building out your team. You want to make sure that you have founders that are really comfortable in the unknown. If you're in that early stage where you don't have a roadmap, where they can kind of dive in and just help you create it, with that kind of blank slate, and where there isn't anxiety around that. So, it's usually someone who's been in a startup before or someone who's likes to create things from scratch, and is incredibly curious, um, isn't really anxious about knowing exactly where that next dollar is coming from, because that oftentimes is a lot of the anxiety. And if they don't already have processes and tools and things in place, aren't feeling anxious about that either, because you want them to be comfortable to figure out what are the right tools or to work with you to figure that out. So there is a certain kind of DNA of the person that you're looking for before you bring them in. Even if they're the smartest people in the world, sometimes they just don't work best in that environment. And so you kind of got to vet for that. And we often make the mistake of saying that it's good enough, because of their experience, we should be able to do this. But we find that they get tripped up after a while of feeling that it's not moving fast enough or it isn't moving efficient enough, and those types of things matter. The other thing is, do you know who your customer is? Are you sure that you're serving the right one? So, for example, is it your supply side or is it your demand side? That's one example if you're doing a marketplace or something of that type. So if one is more dominant than the other, you got to be clear on that. So let's use the marketplace as an example. You need your talent, you need your customer, or you need your inventory and you need your customer, whatever it is. And for me, it's been both in a few different companies. And it is a balancing act, because whatever your supply is, um, you got to make sure that you don't have too much of one before the other. And really understanding how to balance that is something that does take some experience. So be very clear on who is the customer in this stage of the company. And once you kind of have that clear in your head, then you can move forward knowing that you're really serving that customer. um, and as you're building a team, one of the things that I've always found is important is is understanding my strengths, my weaknesses, and who I need to surround myself with to ensure that the best of me comes out. My one of my mentors was very clear on, you need to know yourself in the Socratic sense, understand really who you are, look yourself in the mirror, and be able to be really honest with yourself. And so that's really important. And then making sure that it's very clear where it is that you want to go, and surrounding yourself with those people with a roadmap that is understood, or having them help you build that roadmap, but knowing kind of what the end goal is. And then, and only then, can you really bring a shared vision to life. Um, and one of the things that's coupled with that is a term that my father introduced me to when I was about 13, which is called servant leadership. And servant leadership is both a philosophy and leadership practices um, that are really around making sure that you're constantly seeing yourself as a catalyst for others. And I know a few great leaders that do this well. Um, One of them is someone that I have the honor of working with at one of my previous companies, and he is now the CEO of one of the largest companies out there. And I just love watching him work and seeing the culture that he's created. So it definitely is possible, though it isn't the norm in the valley. And so that type of leadership, and I can talk more about that in the future episode, is also, I believe, important to this. Um, and then knowing, what kind of leader are you? Do you lead by example? Everybody says, "Oh, of course I do, of course I do." But do you lead with an edge? Do you lead with fun spirit? Do you lead with, always having to know exactly what everyone's doing? Micromanager, not micromanager, macro is good enough. What is your level of trust with the person and or the people? How do you gain that trust? And so much of that happens when you're just being clear with, okay, what is the end result we're all looking for, and making sure that that everyone's clear on what that is. In my current company that I'm doing with Rae, and Stephen Lodge, we really are clear on knowing that the end result is this platform that is going to serve two different customers. And so working with our team of about 10 people to make sure that everyone is clear on what that roadmap is, and helping to march towards making that happen in the time frame that we've agreed to. And going back to basics of product development, what is the driving factor? And for us, it's time this time around. So that's where some features get thrown off the bus, and MVP becomes even more slim than not. So those are the types of kind of characteristics of what you're looking for, both in your company, in your people, and in yourself. So I think that is going to be it for today. But I just wanted to get some thoughts out there around that. As far as remote work is concerned, we'll get into that on Thursday. Hopefully, we'll also be talking about company launch and how we got there, and more about what we're going to be doing as far as our company over the remaining 8 weeks as we get things moving. So thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you on Thursday.